Be me. 35 now. Used to coast through life like it was a moving walkway, never had to fight the crowd, just smiled and floated forward. In uni, got into the program I wanted, even though my grades were average. Cousin knew the dean. He introduced me after a family dinner. We talked, I laughed at his dad jokes, and next week I got the acceptance email. He messaged, told you it'd work out. Always knew how to tilt the board, got a partial scholarship too. Not academic, just called it a diversity incentive. No essays, no interviews, just one quick meeting where I wore eyeliner and crossed my legs. Never once stressed over tuition, texted my bestie, I swear I'm magic LOL. Oh yeah, I studied creative brand cultures. Don't ask what that means, I couldn't explain it either. Most of our assignments were mood boards and identity exercises. I got a B+ once for designing a fake festival poster, literally used Canva and their auto-build function. Thought it would be fine. Marketing always needs ideas, right? Creatives run the culture, right? At least that's what our prof used to say while wearing sneakers indoors. Didn't realize most guys I worked with had more boring degrees, like finance, IT, engineering. They could build things. I could build mood boards. One guy I sat next to once said, "If you don't code or sell, you're better be feeding the pipeline." Still don't know what that means, but I felt like it wasn't about me. Mum forced me to find some work after uni, so whatever. First part-time job was at a marketing agency downtown. Walked into interview and could tell boss had a hard-on for me already. Junior assistant type thing. Didn't know half the workflow there, still got promoted twice in a year. Used to get Ubered home by my boss after late-night meetings. He was married. I didn't ask questions. Got an envelope bonus every other month. Team lunches, paid for me and my friends. I was the morale booster. Never filed a single tax form properly, didn't need to. Guys handled that stuff. In my 20s, life was basically GTA on cheat codes. Rent was always someone else's problem. Dated a guy in finance for 8 months just because he paid for everything. He was sweet, wanted kids, had a 5-year plan. I got bored, dumped him and said, "You're just not ambitious enough." He's a regional director now. Married a girl who looks like I used to. That part still stings. Met another guy at a wedding. Really into me, stable job, respectful. Took me to museums and called his mom every week. He proposed after a year. I laughed. I can't marry a guy who wears the same sneakers everywhere. Lied not because of a stupid excuse like that, but because I wanted to find someone with deeper pockets. Blocked him the week after. He sends me a Christmas card every year. I used to read it out loud to my girlfriends for laughs. Guys like that were always around. Too easy, too available, boring. I thought I was meant for something more. Luxury, excitement, late-night rooftop parties, not groceries and shared phone plans. Even when I messed up, I bounced. Got pulled over for DUI once. Cop asked if I knew how fast I was going. I leaned in and said, "I was just trying to get home safe, officer." He gave me a warning and his number. Texted me later that night. "Hope you made it safely." I replied with a selfie. Never got the fine. The whole world bent a little when I smiled. Men were lavers. I just had to know which one to pull. It started fading slowly. Nothing dramatic. Just little signs. DMs stopped coming in. Even the guys I used to ignore stopped orbiting. Used to get free coffees at the campus cafe just for saying thank you with a wink. Now barista barely looks up when I say hi. Tried to get into a rooftop bar I always used to go to. Same place I met my last finance ex. Hostess looked me up and down, said, "Sorry, members only tonight." Never used to be members only. They just don't want mature women near the VIP booth. Men have this creeper instinct in them to like younger women, I guess. Even dating apps started turning. Used to get over 100 matches a day. Now it's the divorced dads and the anime profile pic guys. Messaged one of my old hookups. He replied, "Lol, hey stranger, you still in the city?" Not, "When can I see you?" Just, lol. Every new wrinkle feels like a revoked passport stamp. Every birthday post gets fewer likes. Every time I open Instagram, I feel older, like I aged out of relevance. But now, the levers stopped moving. 35 hit like black ice. No warning, no traction. Beauty started slipping through my hands like loose change. Should have seen it coming, but I thought I was the exception. After high school, I saw how easy things were when I leaned in. Realized men wanted me more when I leaned out. Mystery sells better than effort. My mom used to say, "Marry smart, not fast." But I thought I didn't have to marry at all for real. Beauty was my bank account, my social credit, my get-out-of-effort card. She kinda gave up after some time, Both her and Dad said, "Fine, live the way you want, but don't complain later." So annoying, seriously. Life was good though. Everywhere I went, the world opened. Free drinks, waived cover fees, backstage passes, guys offering to fly me to Dubai just for the weekend. They called it simping. I called it paid holidays for my genetic gifts. So I never built anything of my own. Never learned how to manage money or time or pain. Why would I? When I was the prize. I'm sure you guys would do the same if you were in my position. But these days, makeup doesn't hit the same. Angles don't fix what time dulls. And the world doesn't soften anymore. Tried to flirt with a bouncer last month to skip the line. He said, "Ma'am, we're at capacity." Ma'am, stood there in heels I couldn't return, wondering when that word applied to me. Applied for jobs again. Actual jobs, not the cushy fake title ones. Admin assistant for a logistics firm. Client outreach representative for a CRM company. Interviews were brutal. No one laughed at my jokes. One guy asked if I had any formal certifications. I said, "No, but I've run whole departments before." He didn't care. Another guy asked what my degree was in. I said, "Creative brand cultures." He raised an eyebrow. "That's not a real discipline," he muttered. I laughed. He didn't. He flipped my resume, asked why there were 3 years with no work listed. I said I was consulting freelance. He asked for proof, like a portfolio. I said I didn't keep one. His face went blank. Then he asked, "What measurable value did you add at your last role?" Measurable. Could feel sweat crawling down my neck. Then he hit me with, "You're aware this is an in-office role? 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Most weeks, sometimes weekends." I blinked. 9 p.m.? He nodded like it was normal. And I guess to them, it was. Walked out of there feeling like I got jumped by a spreadsheet. I wasn't shiny enough to skip the queue anymore. Started freelance work just to survive. Cold calls, cold emails, cold bank account. Nobody offered to walk me home anymore. Nobody paid for lunch. Not because they were mean, because they didn't see me. Bills started hitting like boss fights. Rent jumped $200 in 1 month. Electric bill came, and I stared at it like it was in Latin. Googled, "Why is electricity so expensive?" Answer was basically, "Welcome to adulthood, LOL." Used to just forward stuff like this to a boyfriend or landlord. Now it's me. Only me. Every number on that paper stares back like, "Figure it out, queen." Checked my account. $118.24. 2 weeks till payday, and that's if the invoice clears on time, which it won't. Called my dad, told him about the rent increase. He just sighed, said, "So you're finally learning what it's like to be a man." I rolled my eyes, but deep down, it hit. Walked home one night carrying groceries. Bag tore open, cans rolled into the gutter, watched them clatter like loose teeth. No one helped, just cars driving by. This is what it's like to be invisible. Texted my dad, told him I was applying again. He called me, said, "You should have married Tom, or Eric, or that lawyer from Michigan." I rolled my eyes while he talked, put him on speaker, and scrolled during the lecture, but something in his voice felt tired. He said, "You keep chasing thrills like they're job benefits." Said, "You never wanted a man, you wanted a sponsor." Said, "Men like Tom, they don't shine, they stay." Then paused and added, "But you never valued staying, only shining." I bit back, told him he never understood me. He said, "I understand you perfectly. You think life's unfair now because you're finally playing on hard mode." Hung up, stared at my phone. Dad always rubbed me the wrong way. He's blunt, old school, emotionally stiff, but he's never wrong, and that pisses me off. Said, "You had options, you didn't want real, you wanted easy." And he's right, but I hated hearing it from him. Stalked one of my exes online, the boring one, the stable one. He's got a wife, 2 kids, a Labrador. Posted a story helping his daughter with homework. Caption said, "Teaching her that showing up every day matters more than being perfect." Never heard anything like that from the guys I used to chase. They only posted bottle service and brunch views. Remembered a time in uni when a guy brought me flowers for no reason. I laughed and gave them to my roommate, said, "This guy thinks flowers mean something, LOL." She kept them for 2 weeks. He never talked to me again. 35 now. No more flowers, no more followers. At least ones I'm interested in. No shortcuts, just shift work, strained eyes, and frozen meals. Had to cancel Spotify and Netflix and my lash appointments. Each one hurt, but the worst was buying off-brand cereal. Used to giggle at guys who meal prep. Now I boil rice like it's sacred. Wasn't used to budgeting, so not being able to spend whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted at someone's expense, really hit me hard. Monthly pass for the train? Can't afford it. Walk half an hour each way. Shoes wearing out, heels talking, but can't replace them yet. Got to choose between new boots or Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi wins. Need to find a job desperately. Office I landed at does these 10-hour shifts. Small startup, mostly guys. They bring their own coffee, nobody talks until noon. One dude in dev sits across from me. Name's Jordan, wears the same hoodie every day, has 3 screens, looks like he's permanently fighting for custody of his deadlines. Talked to him once during lunch, asked if he ever gets bored staring at code. He said, "Bored? No. Worried I'll get fired if I mess up? Yes." Told him I used to work in creative marketing. He said, "Cool, so like ads?" Felt like a child explaining finger painting to a carpenter. Left the place after they said I should take a break and find something that aligns more with me. Sometimes I'm happy seeing men have higher depression rates. It's because of how they treat women. Started working at a co-working space twice a week. Mostly men in there, laptops open, coffee-stained shirts, tired eyes. Nobody looked at me twice. Sat next to a guy one day. He looked maybe 28, headphones in, typing like he was solving a war. Didn't even glance when I sat down. Tried to start a convo, asked if the Wi-Fi was slow. He just pointed at the password taped to the desk, then went back to work. I stared at him. How is he not checking his reflection every 5 seconds? No distractions, no likes, no DMs, just working, like actually working for hours. No applause, no reposts, just silent tabs open. Saw another guy eating lunch alone, barely touched his sandwich, just hunched over a spreadsheet, then took a call and started apologizing. "Yes, sir. I'll rework the proposal tonight." Hung up, sighed, went back to it. I watched him, like a documentary on animals I never studied. They wake up, they grind, they sleep, they repeat. No glam shots, no one filming them with an iced latte in hand, no CEO at 23 reels, just tired men doing things because they have to. It was unsettling. No one was cheering for them, and they didn't expect it either. I walked home that night, past a gas station. Saw a guy filling up a delivery truck. 3 a.m., hoodie up, hands cracked, phone on the dashboard playing music. Looked peaceful, but broken too. Like he knew no one was watching, and maybe that's why he could breathe. Thought about how I used to cry if a guy didn't reply in 10 minutes. Now no one even sees me on the sidewalk. Men live like this? Forever? And yet, I'm learning. Learning how men have done this forever. Without help, without praise. Just showing up. Every day. Used to laugh at the whole "men have it hard" idea. Used to say, they run everything. They've got privilege. Maybe some still do, but these ones, the ones I walk past now, they're not running anything. They're just trying to stay afloat. One guy at the shared office always brings his own lunch, like a Tupperware with rice and chicken, eats it at his desk. No takeout, no food picks, just fuel. Asked him once why he doesn't just order something. He said, "It's cheaper this way." Then smiled, not sarcastic, just tired. Felt dumb asking, realized I never used to think about price tags or rent or health insurance. Someone always covered it, or helped, or forgot to charge me. Men don't get that luxury. They don't luck into things. They have to build, apply, save, repeat. One of the finance guys eats at his desk. Always something sad, tuna and rice. Saw him once counting coins in his hand, then sigh and put them back in his drawer. Heard him whisper, "Duck, rent's due," but then he smiled at a teammate like nothing happened. Honestly thought men didn't feel pressure, that they had money, power, options. But these guys, they're just trying to survive. No venting, no safe space, just silent suffering while looking at their spreadsheets. One of them showed me how to use Excel formulas, like basic stuff, sum totals, client logs. I asked why he knew so much. He said, "I taught myself after work." You kinda have to. Then added, "No one's hiring me because I'm cute." Laughed, but not really. And now that I'm here, trying to build too, I feel like I showed up to a marathon 10 years late, in heels, with no water. And these men? They've been running since they were 18, with no crowd cheering, just their own heartbeat. See my neighbor again. He's carrying a mop and groceries at 11 p.m. I offer to help. He says, "Nah, this is just life." Doesn't even sound bitter, just factual. Guys, I honestly up till recently thought men were emotionally shut off. Not exactly my fault, right? Now I wonder if they're just exhausted, Not stoic by choice, but drained from years of being invisible. Kinda feel bad, but kinda don't at the same time. Even the guys I once ghosted, they never blew up my phone. They just vanished, moved on, kept living. I used to mock that. Now I see its strength. They don't need an audience, they just need to survive. And somehow, they do. Called my dad again, told him the insurance company doubled my premium. He said, "And you thought being hot was going to pay Blue Cross?" Then said, "You were living a life most men never see." Now you're living the life we all do. Stood in the kitchen, bill in one hand, cereal in the other, wondering if growing up was just the long, slow process of losing excuses. Get home, sit in the dark, think about all the men I mocked, called them soft, boring, emotional. Maybe they weren't any of those things. Maybe they were just tired. But low-key still think they deserved it. Must be losers, or not high-value men if they're complaining like this? Like what woman wants a man like that? Write a note to myself. He showed up for a world that never clapped, and I laughed at him for it. Folded it, put it in a drawer, called my dad again. This time I didn't argue, just said, "You were right." He didn't gloat, just said, "You'll be okay if you stop trying to feel special and start trying to be useful." Sat with that. Be useful. The kind of advice that used to make me gag, now it feels like a life raft. Talked to Jordan again. We were both eating sad desk lunches. Mine was leftover pasta. His was rice and egg in Tupperware. Asked him, "Do you ever get tired of doing all this with no help?" He looked up, wiped his mouth, said, "Every day. But what's the alternative?" I laughed, asked, "But don't you ever wish someone would just make it easier for you?" He smirked, said, "Yeah, I used to." Then I realized no one's coming. Paused, then looked at me, dead serious. "Some people get floaties. The rest of us just swim till we don't drown." I asked, "And you've always lived like that?" He nodded. "Since I moved out at 18. Rent, bills, groceries, parents couldn't help." Then added, "People think men are quiet because we're strong. Most of the time, it's just because no one's listening." I went quiet. He didn't say it with anger, just facts. He looked at me and said, "You used to be carried. Now you're walking. That's not injustice. That's gravity catching up." I didn't reply, just sat there, chewing pasta that suddenly tasted like cardboard. Maybe I thought my beauty was a ladder, but it turns out it was an elevator. Easy on the way up, but when the power went out, I didn't know how to even use the stairs, lol. But I see it now. I see what men endure, what I never had to, until now. And for the first time in my life, I don't look down on them. I look across, and I nod. Not because I pity them, because I finally understand what it costs to be unseen.